This video is a part of my Elden Ring PvP Guides playlist. If you want to improve at the game, please check out the cards in top right corner. Every time I'm bringing up discussion on YouTube, people that literally do not menu swap perceive it as the fucking demon, which is quite fucking ridiculous, and talking like how it is straight up exploiting the weight limits, I think.
Yeah. People say a lot of shit on YouTube. It's actually insane.
The best type of comments are the ones where gamers in the comment section call swapping super simple, very easy, no skill needed, just exploit that. And I essentially, out of the pure curiosity, I went to a few of the channels of these guys, like check their Twitch channels and so on. And besides these gamers using, essentially, I don't have reverse of Bobo here, but like you can imagine what I'm going to say. Yeah, it is essentially L2 gaming, yeah, all the way.
Yeah.
I checked like one of the guys' channel. The guy is essentially was sitting in the first step with two friends on Xbox, spamming like reverse of blood with them against like invaders that were coming in. Those are type of people that like complain about menu swapping. And like
Yeah.
I can imagine why someone could potentially think, like, let's say that someone has good intentions, like just legitimately wants to have some sort of the elaborative like talk about if menu swapping really is some sort of the skill expression or not. And I can agree that like if you are standing still and gonna do that, yes, this is not hard. But
Yeah,
this is not what
at all.
this is not what menu swapping is about. It's about like using things at the correct moment, using them in the correct timing. And to that, like for example, let's say you have a situation that you're running let's bring the gags. Yeah, you're running the gags. You have a situation where you are poking someone. Like firstly, you are using the wave dashing. Yeah, you're getting someone. You got someone with the running attack. You're going in. And then, like, what? If you're going to do, like, a brain-dead swap, you're gonna end up in the locked menu. So, you need to get your timings right, yeah? And this is where the difficulty of the swapping is at, yeah? And
Yeah.
for these things, you also need to have a well-organized menus, because if you are going to have, like, total mess, then you are not going to swap shit. And sometimes, like, swaps are just super great. Let's even, like, assume the situation that you are chasing someone, and they are like a bloodhound stepping away. You can essentially swap to different type of the weapon that has like a ranged attack and eventually like punish them because they are not expecting it. You couldn't do that in case if you would have like a regular, if you would be using the same and the same only weapon, unless you would have like a previously prepared ranged Ash of War. But overall, like, you know, swapping is better because it's this element of the surprise in that particular case. Or even like something like little bit different. Let's say like you have situation that someone is essentially like running away from you. You miss the attack. You can always swap to that heavy thrusting sword and execute the running attack, which is, I guess, like it's just straight up better. Another thing that I'm doing here that like many people don't even know about is just that essentially crouching is cancelling the recovery, and also allows you to immediately enter the menu, and also allows you to overall like perform actions faster. Yeah, so yeah, this is essentially after the attack I am essentially like doing that additional crouch. Yeah, so like there is so many things that going around the menu swapping overall. It's just, you know, you have like a whole iceberg, people like looking at the very top of it. And
Yep, exactly. So that's a good way to put it. It's about adapting to the fight. You don't want to swap at wrong times or just do bad swaps. You want to swap to something that actually helps you in the fight. As you said, swapping to like something that has Thunderbolt to roll catch them, or swapping to a different Ash of War than what you currently have. Like I was doing in Servants quite a lot over the past few weeks. He has like a bunch of Stitchers, right? He would swap from like Storm Stomp to Flame Strike to Glintstone Pebble, and it's just that element of surprise that gets you in the fight. So that's what I think swaps are good for. They're not easy, they're not useless, they're very useful, and there's a high skill ceiling to them. The thing you said about crouching to cancel the recovery, there's also another thing. I'm sure you know about this, but after you parry someone, you know how your menu locked for a little bit?
yeah, if you're gonna move around, it actually unlocks faster. Yeah.
Yep. If you take a small step right before, so there's timing there. There's timing to your swaps.
Yep, essentially. So maybe like in comparison, like let's do regular R1. You can, okay, maybe without moving, regular R1. This is like essentially the timing, but after like the menu, after the parry, the timing is different. I am essentially trying to mimic the same timing. I am still locked in the menus, but if you're gonna move forward just a step, the timing is shortened. Yeah, like there's so much shit goes into actually like menu swapping, and overall there is depth into it, a lot of depth. Like, and then we are talking only about weapons. So you have like fucking talismans.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say that.
You have fucking like armor sets and so on.
Let's take this time to talk about something very important. This is what we meant by how swapping can be extremely good and viable. Just running all of these setups, you wouldn't be able to do this if you didn't know how to swap.
Yep.
Like in the middle of a fight, quickly adapting, swapping to Blue Feather, putting on that shield, swapping to Royal Remains.
It's essentially, it's like some people saying that like because of that, like you trivialize the weight limits, and because of that you actually the game is easier. No, like the adapting ability is also important, and like being able to do it on fly in the fight is, well, it's a skill. It's part of the skill set. You have to pretty much also like optimize not only for the sake of what is technically optimal, but also like optimal for yourself, for your individual abilities, how you can actually play the game. Because sometimes like a particular swaps and so on are literally up to your abilities. Like can you for example position your hand for the sake of to utilize, let's say, that running attack with the HTS on the swap? Because like if for example if you are using the Xbox controller and you cannot like use the claw on the left hand, then you're gonna have a problem with that. Yeah, so it's essentially like, you know, it's fun. It gives you another layer of the challenge to the game. Essentially allows you to express your skill on another dimension that is essentially well-prepared menus, and also like the mechanical skill of utilizing the menu swaps in the practice. So
Absolutely.
like
You also have to realize that it's extremely easy to notice when someone is in their menu and punish them. So you have to be fast. It's not easy to do in the middle of a fight, especially when you're low HP, you're being pressured. It adds to the skill ceiling.
it absolutely adds to the skill ceiling, and essentially a lot of clueless people just literally saying that oh, menu swapping is so broken because you can have two weapons next to each other and you don't see the swap animation or whatever, and making like arguments for, oh look, like there is supposed to be added animation, whatever. Man, it doesn't matter. You clearly can tell when someone is swapping. You see it after the movement. You see it like how they are like distancing themselves from you and so on. It is, if you are like at least minimally experienced player, you're gonna know when someone is swapping. And the amount of times when I have killed someone because they were in the menus and I have fucking seen it and I just like approached them or like just predicted them going to the menus, it's like, you know, it happens often. It does happen often.
It goes way beyond that, because you have to also understand how to when we talked about knowing when to swap, you can also sort of mask your swaps, if that makes sense. Like if you're fast enough, which requires skill, you have to practice it. If you're fast enough, you can swap a talisman quickly after a roll, and it's very hard for them to punish it because you roll and then you quickly swap your talisman.
Let's assume this is your opponent, this is the other player. When you're doing this swap backwards, you have a free hands through the period of that of that animation, so you can use it to your advantage to go into the menus, get to the position ready to swap, and when you are only like able to do so when the menus unlock, when you are getting back to the neutral, you can just like do the swap and continue on the fighting.
And it's really hard to punish that. It's also hard to see it because you're just doing it off a roll.
Yep.
It's the same thing with running too. It's not easy to run while locked on and still swap. So I think that's where the skill ceiling is, in my opinion.
This is where the skill ceiling indeed like comes from, because yeah, like standing still and swapping the weapon, Yeah, sure, but like try to do it consistently during the run, avoid the attacks and so on. This is indeed where the skill ceiling comes from. That's absolutely correct.